Said about right?
Okay, good. Don't record. Just shut up. Just
I want you to think a moment, and I want to get some answers from you all on what kind of a house you'd like to build. So think about that. What you would build your house out of. Would anybody like to volunteer some answers?
Brick,
Why?
strong.
Good. Any other questions? Any other ideas? Who else would build their house out of something different? How many thought brick? How many thought stone? How many thought stucco? Wood frame? And why did you, who decided on stone, why did you think of stone? Strong. It would last.
Foundation.
Good. Okay. What about this house? What about this house? What is this house? What is it made of? How far are we going to go with it? How long are we going to live in it? What condition do we want it to be as we go through this time period? Let's think about what it should be. Let's think about what it could be. Let's think about what it is now. Where should we get this answer? Anybody have an idea? Where would you go for an answer on how to build this house? Somebody have an answer for me?
An architect.
An architect. What kind of an architect?
A house architect.
A physical, good. I'll tell you this is the way I saw this early on. Why don't we go to the manufacturer's handbook, or what about just an analysis of what a healthy house looks like and what it's made of? Why don't we let the house that is in perfect order dictate to how we maintain it? Why don't we just go according to the systems that the house is made of? Think about it. Our body is an electrical force field. We're electrical. Our spirit man is electrical. Our life force is electrical. We need electrolytes. Then we are made up of chemicals. They're called nutrients. Some are protein materials, some are water materials, some are fat materials, some are minerals. So shouldn't we just build this dwelling that we're going to use for the rest of our lives out of the materials it should be? Should we use styrofoam to rebuild a car that's made out of metal? Should we take a brick house and repair it with fiberglass sheeting or plywood? No. We need to put the right materials where the right materials go. And this is where a lot of the problems are. We are what our mother ate. We are what our mother ate. We become what we eat. So many people right now are taught about genetic diseases. Oops. Think again. Genetic? Wait a minute. What is genetic? Epigeneticists, who are at the forefront of all the research on humans and their propagation and their ancestry and where we've been and where we're going, they put an article out on Tuesday, October the 7th in 2003 in the New York Times, and the article was entitled, "A Mother's Diet May Turn Genes Around." A mother's diet may turn genes around. In this article, they talked about, they took rats and other animals, but rats, of course, were the main animal used. They took these rats and they fed them differently. And when they fed them differently, after each litter of offspring, they found that by changing the nutrients and the amount of nutrients and the availability of nutrients, that all the rats in these litters turned out differently. They could literally change the color of the hair and the bone structure and predict it generation to generation by adding or taking away nutrients. See, the genes were activated or deactivated. It didn't change your DNA. It's not genetic in the fact of DNA, or we wouldn't be here but 3 or 4 generations. It actually just changed the way the gene was turned on or off. Some rats actually became another color with a different bone structure, different limb features, different mental capacities. It's because these nutrients that were put into these rats did something called methylizing or synergized and helped to affect the positive or negative effect of turning certain things on or off. So it's not at all that we are what we eat. We start out what our mother ate. It starts right in the womb. And then it becomes up to us. If we're born with a limited amount of genetic potential, we still have the DNA. This DNA can be awakened to a degree, or our potential then can be, shall we say, maximized and brought to the full. This is why in children you've heard the word formative years. Formative years. Key words that we don't always stop to think about. So the other one we need to think about is sickness and disease. This changes us. Sickness and disease. Sickness is the physical manifestation of dis-ease. Dis-ease, unrest at the cellular level. Dis-ease. Interesting, because we start with dis-ease and then we get sickness. We don't have sickness and it becomes a dis-ease. The dis-ease is the unrest at the cellular level. I want to give you one other statistic, and then I'm going to read some things from a book that I think you're going to find very interesting. It'll help you to maybe paint a picture quite clearly for you of just how important things are for us. In 1980, I got a hold of a very good report on people who attended hospitals for various reasons. Now, this was 1980. We're talking 25 years ago. And it's much different today. It's more intensified. They did a study on people entering a hospital for various reasons. Out of people who went into the hospital in 1980, the food was much better then than it is now. 2 out of 5 people were found to have one metabolic disease or inadequacy that could have been handled by diet alone. 2 out of 5. Their diet alone, because of one major metabolic disorder, helped with the onset of this sickness or disease. 2 more of the 5 had 2 or more metabolic insufficiencies that were quite more intensified. So we've got 4 out of 5 people in the hospital because of 1 or 2 metabolic disorders that could have been handled by diet alone. In 1980, Ms. Ware, who was the head of the American Health Organizations, said that if you have more than 1 cold a year, you are chronically ill. What do you think the other person was in the hospital for out of those 5 people? An accident. Now, if you ask me, that's a good way to put it, because the dietary part was what? It was absolutely self-inflicted, or as I like to term the term, self-will running riot. How many of us have actually stopped and said, what do I need? What does my body require? Not what I think, not what I feel, not what I want. What does my body's systems dictate? I'm going to give you some statistics that I think you'll find quite interesting. I really like this book. Tom Heyman wrote a book called In an Average Lifetime. And I quoted some things the last time we had a lecture, and I want to give you some of them this time. And these are pretty interesting. First of all, let's talk about what the body does, what we can expect out of our body in an average lifetime. first of all, you grow a new stomach lining every 4 days. Now, if you're not getting the right nutrients in your body, and your stomach lining, it doesn't have what it needs to get rebuilt, how are you going to get anything else into your system? Now, we just talked about 4 out of 5 people. How do you think those people who had 2 problems got there? They started with 1. It went to 2. And guess what? From there it goes on. So we have a new stomach lining every 4 days. In your average lifetime, you grow 889 layers of skin. That's one every 28 days on the average. Every 28 days you have a new layer of skin. You grow 19.5 inches. 19.5 inches of toenails. Let's get to the foot of the problem. You grow 77.9 or 78 inches of fingernails. Now that would make Edward Scissorhands look anemic. Okay, 80 inches of fingernails. That's about 6.5 feet. Whiskers for the men? Well, if you started young, you could have about a 27.5-foot beard. A 27.5-foot beard. That'd make Rapunzel jealous. 40 feet, 7 inches of hair. But now I want to get down to what the body does. I want you to think about this vehicle and how it's going to work. Follow with me, if you will, here, real closely. Just get a hold of this one. The body breathes, respirates with your lungs and expands your ribs, your lungs, everything, 551 million times. 551 million breaths. Your heart pumps 55 million gallons of blood. What about building that blood? But here's the killer. Your heart pumps. Your heart contracts or pumps 2,756,000,000 times. Do you think you might want to consider some nutrients to keep that thing working? I wonder why everybody's beats go out early. It's wore out. No maintenance. I mean, 2,756,000,000 times your heart beats. That's a lot. Let's talk about how we repair this body. We eat 109,000 pounds of food. 109,000 pounds, 55 tons. That's a lot of pickup trucks. Okay? And here's the other killer part of that. That food that we eat, 4,659 pounds are sugar. 269 gallons of ice cream for the average person. 1,483 pounds of candy. 801 pounds of chocolate. 1,279 pounds of snack food. 512 pounds of peanuts. 250 pounds of that for the average person just in peanut butter. How about this one? 4,194 quarts of popcorn. This is really good. 5,800 bowls of pasta for the average person. 5,800 bowls of pasta and 18,000 bowls of cereal. Now, add to that 6,900 hot dogs, 8,300 hamburgers, 8,600 pounds of red meat. Do you think we might have some health problems there? Think of the sugar and the carbohydrates and the processing, the work that your body has to do to process these things. Your body needs to grow these things. It needs to be revitalized. It needs to be regenerated. But this is where we get down to the good part. Now, Edith Ware said in 1980 that we should have no more than one cold a year. The average person is sick 2.97 years or 1,086 days. You get 463 prescriptions in your lifetime. That's the average person. You spend $19,700 on fast food, $6,800 on vending machines, and $408 on vitamins. $408 on vitamins, and you've bought all these other foods, and you've eaten all these things. Now, what happened to the maintenance? I wonder where nutrition is going. We don't stop to think that food, and I hope that tonight you're going to see the importance of what I'm about to say. I hope you start to see that food always does something to you. Every time you go to eat, food does something to you. Do you want positive or do you want negative? Think about this. When you sit down to eat that food, go, I'm going to make a choice. Do I want it on me or in me? Do I want it for me or against me? Do I want to get farther down the road smoothly, or do I like those potholes in the road? You know, if you went out to start your car and it didn't start right and it didn't steer right, would you do something about it? What about when your energy level is wrong? So those are some things that you might want to think about. $408 on vitamins. What does that say about our priorities? And here's how we handle it. We don't worry about the prevention. Today it's all about the cure. Let's run for the cure. Let's have a walk for the cure. Let's raise money for the cure. Let me explain to you. I went and looked up the word and the definition of cure. It means to restore to health. That's not at all what they're talking. It says to restore to health, not mask, but to put back in working order. Now, cure, according to many definitions and according to pharmacology, the cure is sustaining the healthful condition while a substance initiates or perpetuates that balance. That's not putting back, that is sustaining the condition. The cure today is most times sustaining the condition. We need to think about the cure as restoring ourselves to health. Prevention is where the real key needs to be. We need to prevent it. Pre the event. We need to take and put the things into our body in an order that works for us. The focus is wrong. We need to find not just what's said to us today in the area of nutrition, of conventional nutrition. No. We need working knowledge. You can find out so many facts that things are good for you, but you need to get them in context, in a working order, with working knowledge. This is where, fortunately, I've been able to work with many, many people now for over 30 years. You know, anywhere from 20 to 40 people a day, 6 and 7 days a week, and I've got a chance to see how this actually affects people. You know, we need to stop and we need to realize, where is this thinking coming from? And this is usually where it happens. When we think about dieting or changing what we're doing, one of usually three things happens. First, we go to put on that special outfit or that pair of pants or that suit because we have a, quote, special event come up that doesn't come up all the time. And we jump into those clothes we like to wear and we go, oh no. And we think, where can I get another outfit? Because usually we don't fit. Okay? So that's the first thing. We might think, okay, I need to do something. The second way we usually tend to be triggered is to look at a picture that somebody took of us at an event. And we look at that picture and we go, oh, and you just like to steal that picture or at least erase your part out of it. Because we don't see ourselves in the perspective as being objective. We are not objective with ourselves. And unfortunately, the third way that usually triggers us is when we feel so bad that we must, quote, see a doctor, or something has to change. We have become sick and tired of being sick and tired. Think about this. Sick and tired. Sick creates tired. Dis-ease creates tired, which creates sick. If your body is tired or slowed down enough, you become sicker. Foods either tend to slow your metabolism down or speed your metabolism up. They either work together to assimilate very easily, or they kind of stall the motor. And this is why they are chemicals. This is why I said we are made of chemicals. We need to change the order that these things are put together. And we need to stop this business of, I'm going to do something about this. After you see this, I'm going to. Well, there it is. The same brain, the same thought process that got us into the problem is going to get us out? Please. One of my favorite sayings is, if what you thought worked, you wouldn't be in the shape you're in. Okay? If what you thought worked, you wouldn't be in the shape you're in. So let's see. Emotion triggers ego. I'm going to. Here's an example. Exercise is a stress. It's not a benefit. Oh, look at the weight I put on. I'm going to start working out. I'm going to stress a body that's already out of balance. And I'm going to start eating less. Now I'm going to starve it so it gets even less nutrients. So now I'm going to stress it more when it needs more nutrients and give it less to go on. You're going to see short-term physical improvements, usually on the outside. But it ends up as either being too tired to continue the weight program or the exercise program, too tired to get up and go to work and keep the exercise up, or you start with hunger and cravings until you put yourself so far out of balance, your self-will runs riot and you break the whole cycle and you go, you know, I can't keep this up, and you're back in your old mode. One of my t-shirts says it very simply when I put it out. It said, "It's your diet, stupid." I looked up the word stupid. That's not a bad word. It means you're unable to put two sentences together intelligently, or two thoughts and connect them. Think about it. We're not doing that. We're running out of emotion and out of ego. We need to stop. And we need to think about intelligent, basic logic. What does the body dictate? The successes that I've seen with individuals is totally due to the simple reason that I know that the body dictates what we need. If I look at the processes of our body and realize that it is a fine working machine, and I study a healthful individual, I can find out, for example, I'm made out of water more than anything else. After water, what would be the next thing I would be made of? Anybody like to volunteer? Protein. Protein. What is your hair? Protein. Skin. Protein. Muscles. Protein. There's protein in the bones. Protein in the organs. What is your blood? Protein. So maybe I should eat mostly carbohydrates if I want to repair the body? No. Carbohydrates are great for energy, but they have limited parts of protein in them. That's why you don't want to build a body that's made of complete protein with incomplete proteins. Having worked with people for years, I found one thing to be self-evident. That when I stressed an individual with exercise or even tried to maintain an unhealthful individual, one of the most important things I found was that I needed to have adequate protein, because that is the actual repair material. Complete protein. I found that when I added carbohydrates, which were incomplete proteins, to combine them, I added up with something called too many calories. And they tended to put on fat as fast or faster than they added the muscle. And the muscle is what makes the body work. It's the metabolism. The more muscle you carry, the more oxygen is needed, the more repair every day, and the more maintenance is required. So To quote someone who put it quite simply, Einstein said, if you can't say it simply, you don't know enough about the subject. This has to do with the body. You're made out of water. We need to drink 3 to 4 quarts a day. Right there, most people are off. How many people in here, think to yourself now, have 2 or 3, how many people in here eat 2 times a day? Hold your hand up, please. How many eat 3 times a day? Hold their hands up. How many people eat more than 3? Hold your hands up. Okay. Now, is there anybody here who only eats maybe twice a day? How many bowel movements do most people have? Ooh, bad subject. Sorry. If I'm going to be in charge of the input, I need to know your output. Okay? Most people have 1 bowel movement per day. Most females today have 1 bowel movement every 1.5 days. Yet they eat on the average 2 to 3 snacks or meals a day. If they went once, where are those other meals? They don't need to be there. If you had a puppy, and you follow a puppy, when you eat them, you eliminate. Intake, output. Intake, output. Now, no wonder people's attitudes are so bad. All that input, no output. Okay? By the way, one of the facts that's really unique about the things that we're telling you, the average person spends $152 in their lifetime on laxatives and $408 on vitamins. Doesn't make sense to me. $1,157 on chips, $408 on vitamins. $152 on laxatives. You know, water and fiber are what's lacking in a lot of our diet today. Water. The average person needs 3 quarts a day just to sustain health. Your body doesn't even adequately cleanse itself at the cellular level until you get over 4 quarts of water a day. You ever notice that when you go to bed at night, if you were to weigh yourself, and you get up in the morning, you've lost weight without going to the bathroom, and you wonder, where did that go? It's because at night your body turns to the cell level to cleanse itself and to repair. And it oxidizes the material. It burns it up like a fuel. And your body needs the greatest amount of moisture at night when it goes to repair, so you can wake up, listen to the word, revitalized, regenerated. The average person will have a lot more energy by doing one simple thing. A lot more energy by one thing. 10 ounces of water, or 8 ounces of water, every 30 minutes to 40 minutes. Or an hour. If you were up 16 hours, and that's divided by 4, that's 4 quarts. So you could have 1 quart every 4 hours. That's 8 ounces every hour. You would be amazed what your energy feels like. And the body being electrical, gee, has anyone in here ever taken electrolytes? When you've exerted your... I wonder what would happen if you took electrolytes at night. So your body could exchange things at the cellular level. Would that be working for you instead of against you? And here's another one. I believe that we are intelligently engineered, as it's called today. I believe, this is my personal belief, in a creator. I don't see how we evolved, but I'm going to go along with science too. So science says that when we assay the human body, that our body is 5% mineral and 0.5% vitamin. 5% mineral and 0.5% vitamin. What does that mean? Should you take more minerals or more vitamins? Oh, by the way, did you all know that minerals are in charge of every fluid exchange in your body? Gee, even if you were getting the right water and didn't have enough minerals, you still might not get all the tissues repaired. It's the minerals in the water, in the fluid, that make your electrical body work. Oh, intelligently engineered, I forgot to tell you. Atom. The word Adam, or Adam, in the Hebrew means clay. From the dust I have taken thee, clay. Oh, so science, creation, all the same. And the farther you look, the farther you'll find this. That one corroborates the other. It's obvious, it's self-evident. We need to just observe what our body is made of. Now, the neat thing about the protein, going back to your tissues, is that if you don't get enough complete protein, you'll never repair your lean muscle tissue, which is your metabolism, which helps movement and function and heat, and to repair the outer layers of the skin and the blood and the organs and I mean, do we want something to work for us or against us? Now let me give you an example about how powerful nutrition is. This is an obvious observation. Anybody will get this. In North America, there are 4 bears. There is the black bear, which is a small omnivore, found everywhere throughout the North American continent. Eats vegetables and protein and is found relatively everywhere. Average size, 400 to 600 pounds. You know, and we have 2 other bears that are both brown. We have one that is called the grizzly bear, 600 to 700 pounds, 7 to 8 feet tall. Grizzly bear, usually found inland, landlocked in the mountains, in the backcountry. We have another brown bear. It's called the coastal brown bear. Looks much like the grizzly, 1,400 pounds, twice as big. Stands 10 to 12 feet tall. Then we have the biggest bear of all, the maritime bear, Arctis horribilis, the polar bear. Now, I want you to think a moment about where these big bears live. What is a grizzly bear known for? Terrible meat eater, attacks animals, kills them, man, lives inland, has to kill to eat somewhat, digs a lot of burrowing animals out, eats his protein that way, tries to eat as much as he can, even eats black bears if he catches them. But then we have this thing called a coastal brown bear. He lives near the coast or where the main rivers are that run inland. And what do those coastal brown bears eat? They eat a lot of salmon, and those salmon have a lot of minerals in them from seaweed. Did you know that there's no difference between the brown bear and the grizzly bear? The only difference is diet. Oh, look at Arctos horribilis, the great polar bear. What does he live on? Walrus, seals, mostly protein. Obvious, right there. It is amazing what protein does for an individual. They took rats, which are not a protein-eating animal. They divided them into 3 groups. They took the first group and they fed it seed quality grain. They took the second group and fed it seed quality grain plus all the nutrients that could be determined and detected in liver, which is a very quality protein. And they took the third group and gave them seed quality grain, and 10% of their diet was desiccated or defat or dried liver. 10% of their diet. They swam these groups of rats until they drowned. Now you know to swim you've got to use muscle, okay? Bear with me. You've got to have more strength, right, to swim longer. The first group that ate seeds swam 8 to 12 minutes and drowned. The group that had everything that was detected in the liver swam 10 to 12 minutes and as high as 15, and it drowned. The group with desiccated liver swam over an hour and a half, 6 times longer, every time they did the experiment. I wonder if those 2 examples are enough to understand protein. I'm going to one point here real quickly. Robert here's worked out with me. He's tried working out a lot of his life. He's wanted to put on body mass. He's tried every program there was. He's worked for all kinds of health food stores. About what's been the length of your workouts, Robert, on the average, longest it'd probably be? 20 minutes, and no cardio. We've not had you doing any cardio. What's the most amount of muscle that you gained at the highest weight? 23 pounds of muscle gain. What was the biggest significant change in your diet? How much more protein? 3 times as much protein. Do you know that the protein makes the difference? How do you know that? By example. Because Robert has tried eating less, and I've had to increase it. And it's the same thing with Jamie or with Jean. Jean having a problem with her liver. We've eaten what type of protein, Jean, works best for you?
Well, the fish, and
How do you know?
because I can tell the way it digests.
Oh, you mean you can feel it digest quicker, and it changes your body count, correct?
Oh, definitely.
Now, Jean has had hepatitis C and had a 73% viral load reduction in 12 weeks without any medication, just in her diet. Jamie is a doctor. What have you found with the protein, Jamie? Does it make a difference on your weight loss and maintaining your muscle?
Yes, it's a big difference.
You
And
know,
the timing of the
And the timing, we're going to get into that. Timing is important too. You see, it's not just the amount of food or the quality. Again, do you want it to work with you? Now, do I allow you to eat a lot of starches with your protein? No. See, your protein must be eaten with foods that synergize. So all foods should be eaten in an order, in combination, so that they might utilize and work together more efficiently. It's not just the food you eat. It's the type of food. There's commercial meat, which is very heavy duty in calories. Then there's grass-fed meat, which has, grass-fed beef has less calories per ounce than salmon. Venison and elk, wild meats have less calories than salmon. Lewis and Clark, when they came west, the men ate 8 to 12 pounds and as high as 15 pounds of meat per man per day, wild meat. When they got to Montana, the men all became sick because they started eating salmon, way too high in fat. But then they adjusted. You see, it's that type of protein. We can have commercial protein or we can have grass-fed protein. We can have steroid-fed chickens that are fed heavy grains and not such a natural diet, or we can get natural raised chickens. Or we can get fish. If you were to put all 3 foods on the counter, a fresh steak, a fresh chicken, and a fresh fish, which one would decay fastest? Fish. What would be next? Fowl. What would be the least to go bad? The commercialized meat. Absolutely. And the one that's the most berated and the highest benefit, eggs. If you do not heat an egg too hot, the choline inside the yolk will emulsify the cholesterol. We have actually lowered people's cholesterol levels and blood lipid levels with soft-boiled and poached eggs up to 18 a day. Think about it. When that egg was formed, it was going to bring about a life. Do you think it's imperfect? What a time to get food. When it's at the point where it's going to bring forth life, it has to be balanced. It's like that baby. Before you start to form it in the womb, before the sperm meets the egg, has that egg been brought to its potential through the DNA, through the nutrition? Have you thought about the formative being you want to have and the form you want that being to be? Have you thought about what the baby's going to be? Have you ever heard a parent say, let's feed the kids something quick and get going? Oh, man, please, strike me in the heart. That's a formative year for that child. Every time you do that, it's compounded. Remember, we eat 55 tons of food in our lifetime? Do you want to be a ho-ho or a ding-dong? You know, what do you want to be? You know, I tell people when they want to lose weight, you'll never find a fat vegetable or a fat fish. It just won't happen. You know, if you want to look like flour, eat flour. If you want to look like cheese curd, eat cheese curd. But if you want to be lean and sleek like a fish, you want to be wiry and lean and full of life like a vegetable, eat them. Are you getting what the body requires? We put a man on the moon, we bring him back. We send a rocket into space to take a picture of a meteor, and we bring it back. We take organs out of one man, and we put them in another man and keep them alive. But we can't find out how to eat right? I'm going to get into that one in a few minutes. I'm going to take a break right now. If everybody would like a drink, I've got some natural sodas out here. I'll give you some water or whatever you'd like, and then we can come back in and I'll finish up. Give you a break to go to the restroom. Maybe gather some thoughts, and when we get back, I'm going to also want to, when I get down the road just a little bit here, I'm going to want to ask you all if you have any questions and have some input. Okay? As far as their sickness is, it's not the gene pool, it's the nutrition pool. The formative time in a mother's womb is the greatest draw to form all these new tissues, create all this DNA, to fulfill the potential of what is there. What most of us are not doing is we're not living to our potential. This is why I always use the expression, I'd like everyone to have expensive urine. I'd rather see people eliminate 10% than to be 10% short. Let's do a real quick math thing. 10% short for 10 days. 100 days. 1,000 days. Now, when you're 10% short for 1,000 days, you've just lost 100 days or a year of life and vitality. The last muscle to recover in the body is the heart. As long as there is a stress or a draw or a need to repair in the body, the heart will continue to work harder until that is met, until the body reaches something called stasis or balance. The body will tend to keep the heart working. This is why one of the greatest factors for figuring recovery is the resting heart rate. I always laugh when I hear of someone going to the doctor and they say, "Oh, your heart rate's really high." Oh, were you following me around for the last 3 months taking it other than today? No. How do they know? This is the problem. We have gone to literally handing over our health to so-and-so. So-and-so said, they say. Who are they? I'd like to meet they. If somebody could ever introduce me to they, I have a few things to ask them. And when I do meet they on occasion, or so-and-so, I find that most of them can't answer common sense questions. Why would you be so stupid is the only word I can use. Stupid. Unable to put two clear thoughts together or connect two sentences. How can you be so stupid as to go to someone for a cure when they can't guarantee you how to prevent it? How can a person be so stupid as to go and get a treatment for a terminal disease and they give you no explanation on what to change in your life to keep from getting it? What kind of a cure is that? They're literally leaving you open to get it again. You need to find out how you got there in the first place and say, and prove that to me. Now, what should I do not to get it again? Can anybody here tell me the last time they know someone with a terminal condition and they laid out an exact plan for them to change everything to get well? Please hold your hand up. Wow. Either, I guess no one. That's the problem here. The problem is that there's no consistency, here's the word, consistency in application of logic. You cannot hardly find one diet or one exercise program today that is not failing, can you? Why are there so many diets? Why are there so many exercise programs? Why?
They don't work.
Why don't they work? Exercise is a stress. First of all, it's not a benefit. Because they don't know how to work a simple word called recovery. You see, your recovery system is made out of nutrition. You are what you eat. You were what your mother ate. So what are you? Okay. Okay. You know what? No, wait a minute.
It's true, it's true.
I appreciate this lady's sincerity. Fact. You know what? You are a serious individual just to say that. You know what? That's good. It is what it is. But you know what? We were talking at lunch today when I met this lady. She's seen me at the sushi bar many times. And, I just shared with her some simple, common sense things. Had you ever heard it that way before?
Oh, yeah,
Okay?
yeah,
Okay. Had you heard that exercise was a stress before?
that was different.
Ah. Now, here's the thing. Exercise is a stress. We're told to exercise. Yeah, go ahead and stretch your body and eat less. So we can repair you quicker with a cure. The cure is to stop the emotion. Get the ego out of the way and get into logic. There are three things I want to talk to you about with this thing about eating disorders. Eating disorders. Anybody who has an overweight problem, a binging problem, not eating what you're supposed to, you have an eating disorder. So most of us are guilty. When we're born into this world, there's one thing we have to do first and foremost. That's breathe. You don't have a choice. You don't breathe, we don't get to see you. Goodbye, problem over. You don't have to worry about your problems. The second thing you must do, you must have water. Water. You cannot get along without water because you're made of more water than anything else. The third one, people think it's sex. No, sorry. The third one, after breathing and water, is food. And that's where you have your first choice. That's where you get your first control. That's where your ego steps in and says, I want, I think, I like, I will, I won't. I. Okay? Eating disorders are the toughest psychological disorder going because it is the ultimate control. The only thing it is second to is pedophilia. Eating disorders can, on rare occasion, be helped. But it is very tough. Because usually they cannot be explained, the side effects and the ramifications of the way they eat, in depth enough. Eating disorders are your first example of self-will run riot. Self-will running riot. There's so many diets because they're failing. You've got the Hollywood diet, you got the low-fat diet, you got the high-carb diet, you got the low-carb diet, you got the high-protein diet, you got the low-protein diet, you got the cabbage soup diet. You can die on your diet, okay? Diet, D-I-E, diet. Okay? I die from what I ate. Okay? Diet. Okay, so, and what everybody wants. I want dramatic results. Oh, there's emotion again. I, ego, want emotional, dramatic results. What about sustainable results? Let's go to logic. Let's jump out of emotion, dramatic, and let's say sustainable. Oh. In other words, if I could just lose a half a pound every 4 to 5 days and sustain it, what would that do? Something that would sustain me. long term. But no, we want it right now. Okay? Here's why most diets are not working. One, they're not balanced. Fats, carbs, proteins, minerals, and enzymes. Everybody says take a multivitamin, but you should be taking a mineral before you consider the vitamin. There has to be adequate food. Most of the individuals that we work with that lose a size every 7 to 14 days complain of one thing all the time. I can't eat all the food. Yes or no?
Oh, I'm not.
Richard, yes or no?
Oh, yeah.
Too much food, I can't eat it all. So they're never hungry. Ah, no hunger. What about cravings? Can we get them stopped right away? Right now. Why? Because it's a nutrient imbalance. If you're on a proper nutritional program, there should never be any hunger, and there shouldn't be any type of craving. Adequate. Adequate meaning enough. Enough food in calories, enough food in nutrients. Remember, if you're trying to lose weight, you may cut some calories back, but you've got to still have the nutrients to make the processes happen. How can you do this? Supplementation with correct supplementation. Frequency. You must eat frequently enough to keep the blood sugar level balanced. When I work with diabetics, I have to be very careful to keep the blood sugar balanced. So we keep the blood sugar balanced, eating it often enough, and eating enough. Most people are overweight because they eat too little. They're underfed. Yes?
Do your diabetics, people that you work with, do you take them off insulin or they still have to be
I don't take anyone off insulin. I only do what the body dictates, and they make the decision. They usually find it right away that their insulin has to be stopped. We find that most of the people that get onto the right type of diet and they use the right foods, that they literally reverse the conditions. Three of the most common things that we deal with on a day-to-day basis that are so quickly fixed are insomnia, diabetes, and blood pressure. Those are the simplest of all. They're usually cured right away. Imagine Jean, who had hepatitis C. That's a death sentence if you can't control it. We put her on some herbs that immediately start to arrest the virus. 73% reduction in viral load in 12 weeks. Her husband, his heart capacity increased by how much?
10%.
10% in 12 weeks, or 10 or 12 weeks, and he only did the diet following her, not even on a prescribed program. He had what, 2 bypasses?
Yeah,
2 triple bypasses, right?
yeah.
Okay, the next thing is, you have to have availability to your diet. Your social and economic background, you have to have the availability to afford and to find the right foods, which are all common. It has to be sustainable in the fact that you need to get your timing down. You need to find the time to give your body what it needs. But the 2 biggest problems are these with people today in their health. Assimilation, the ability to have that stomach lining that's new every 4 days, in shape enough to be able to absorb the things that you do. This is where health starts to go off right there. And elimination. Your blood runs up to the outside of the digestive tract walls, pulls the nutrients across, it runs through the body, the nutrients are then taken into the bones at a place called the nutrient foramen. The nutrient foramen, which is the nutrient hole in the bone, on the long bones, and forms new blood cells. This is why when you have leukemia, you get a bone marrow transplant. So if you are, shall we say, crappy in the bowel or foul in the bowel, you're foul in the blood, you're foul to the bone. No wonder your attitude is foul. I mean, you must eliminate to get rid of these toxins. People, upon having a major heart attack, almost always have a horrendous elimination right after the heart attack. Part of their problem is they cannot get some of the toxins out of their system. The blood becomes thickened, the body becomes detoxified, and their body reacts and then has a problem. What's needed is insurance. Insurance. Insurance in the way I'm meaning it is insurance in that you're getting the right nutrients. You need to ensure that you get this. So what is a little bit of supplementation? In 1933, and this is 2005, we're 72 years down the road. In 1933, the American Department of Agriculture sent a notice to Congress that the fields in the United States were already unable to grow food viable for health, that the fields were worn out. So we started genetically engineering foods to grow on less and less. Just look back at a tomato, what it tasted like a long time ago and one today. Go out and find something that's wild in the country and see how it tastes, then try your food that you get in the store. I mean, you know, just do an assay of it if you wanted to. You know, do you think that the farmers today grow the food with your nutrition in mind or their profit? I mean, really, let's put you in the farmer's shoes. Are you going to grow that food for a profit or are you going to work for everybody's good and well-being? We have engineered seeds. We've got engineered animals. We've got engineered fertilizers. We've got food grown in worn-out fields. It's picked at the wrong time. We prepare it the wrong way. And we combine it the wrong way. What do you think our problem is? I want, I think, and I feel my self-will is running riot. Today we want food that tastes better. A lot of the foods today, we go for satiation and taste. We want that lift, we want that feeling, that high, that little buzz from the food. We eat until we feel physically full because we don't slow down enough and chew our food well enough to feel satiatedly full. We don't allow ourselves to chew the first 3 mouthfuls to water so that our blood sugar level may start to come up and we feel full. We wait until we're so hungry that our stomach wants to crawl out and go look for food on its own. You know? I mean, I can't tell you the amount of times I've done that. I've told people that and they looked at me like, man, he is gone. Well, I know. It feels like my stomach's going to crawl out of my mouth and go look for food. I mean, when my blood sugar goes down, it's like, oh, get away. You know, it's like I become the bear. That is too late. If you're waiting until you're hungry, it's too late. You need to eat when the blood sugar needs to be replaced. We do this with diabetics all the time, and we keep their blood sugar between 80 and 130. Perfect. So engineered. And remember, you are what you eat. So are you something that's engineered the wrong way? So supplementation, vitamin mineral balance, digestion needs to be properly ready. Let's talk about the big problem with nutrition, weight loss. Oh, this is an atrocity. Weight loss today is a shambles, and it's a sham, and it's so far out of control with emotion. People think you can cut calories and lose weight. How many people believe if you cut calories, you'll lose weight? Doesn't work. How about the people who skip breakfast, but they keep putting on weight? They only eat 1 time a day. How come they don't look like the kids in Africa? Because the food they do get has enough calories in it in one meal to sustain you all day or more, but your metabolism slows down. When you don't get food on a regular basis, it tends to become more efficient, and it'll hold on to those calories. You can take 1,200 calories of the right foods and eat it in 1 meal and gain weight. Or you can divide it in 2 meals and gain weight, or you can divide it in 5 meals or 4 meals and lose weight. I've had people who have worked for me gain weight, lose weight, gain weight, lose weight, and do it this way. I would give them a specific diet of certain foods to be eaten in a certain order at a certain time. Okay, let's go through that again. I gave them a specific diet to eat certain foods combined together in a certain way at certain times, and they would lose weight like crazy. They didn't even know they were on a weight loss program, correct, Robin?
Correct.
Okay. Now, I gave those same people the same diet combined differently. Did you lose weight then? No. Chemicals, efficiency, synergy. Ah, yes, it's all a mix. It is a, as you will, recipe for success or a recipe for failure. See, it's how you take control of the way you do it. There is a way to do it right, and there is a way to do it wrong. The problem starts with stinking thinking. We're not eliminating, we're eating the wrong foods, and what we've got is, as I call it, stinking thinking. Egomania. We're into the drama. I am into the drama. I want it. I'm a drama addict, or I want it dramatic. Drama addict. Let's talk about, do you want to build that house out of complete proteins, as we talked about, or incomplete proteins? Are we getting the repair materials and the energy materials? There needs to be a blend. A lot of the clients who are on my programs will tell you that when they don't eat enough vegetables, their lean muscle goes down, but yet they've got the same amount of protein. We'll go through that again. They will eat too little vegetables and the same amount of protein yet lose muscle. Now, why would that happen? Because the body's number one priority is energy replacement first and then repair. And if your body's not having the energy needs met, it will take the repair food and use it for energy, and you don't keep your muscle. How many people here have experienced losing their muscle because they weren't eating enough vegetables? How many wouldn't here know that when they started eating more vegetables and nothing else, they started gaining muscle? Hold your hands up. Okay. And we proved that by body composition test. Okay? We need to change it. 1 second, please. We're going to change it. Hold it, don't you look and see how that works.
This is how that works. We got the other tape in the back. There's another tape in there.